Welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something I know is on your mind. It's personal debt in America.
Oh, yeah.
You sent us a podcast episode about it, and it's clear you're not just looking for definitions.
Right.
You're ready to take action and get a handle on things.
Absolutely. And I think you'll find this source really interesting because it dives into the psychology of debt.
Okay.
It's not just about numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about understanding the emotions and the habits that are tied to our financial lives.
That's so true. And it really hit home for me when the episode talked about good debt versus bad debt. They made this analogy about a gym membership being like, good debt, you're investing in your health.
Yeah.
But binge watching TV, even though it might feel good in the moment,
Right.
isn't really giving you anything back in the long run. It's like bad debt.
What's fascinating here is how the episode links that analogy to our spending habits.
Yeah.
We often don't stop to think if a purchase will lead to long-term value or just instant gratification. It's like we swipe the credit card without considering which debt pile it really belongs on.
And they made a really insightful point about how marketing can actually make us feel good about going into debt, especially for younger generations who are bombarded with messages about buy now, pay later schemes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like debt has become normalized.
Yeah.
Which can lead to bigger struggles down the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The source points out that easy access to credit has definitely changed our spending behaviors.
Okay.
It used to be that debt carried a lot more stigma,
Right.
but now it's almost expected.
Okay, so we've got this complex relationship with debt, but the episode doesn't just stop at defining it right.
Right.
It really digs into the real cost of carrying that debt and not just the financial cost.
Right. They highlight how debt can affect your credit score, which can impact your ability to buy a home or even rent an apartment.
Wow.
And it can create this cycle of stress that impacts your mental and physical health, too.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You start feeling anxious about money, which can lead to sleep problems, and then you're less productive at work. It can even strain relationships if you're constantly arguing about finances.
They actually cite studies that show a link between financial stress and chronic health issues. It's really eye-opening.
It makes you realize that debt isn't just a number on a spreadsheet.
Right.
It's a weight that you carry around with you.
Yeah.
And speaking of weight, I love the analogy they use to describe the debt cycle.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about trying to fill a swimming pool with a spoon.
It perfectly illustrates how tough it is to make progress when you're only making minimum payments.
Right.
You're barely chipping away at the principal. And that interest keeps accumulating, making it feel like you're drowning in debt.
It's like you're stuck on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And they go on to explain that this feeling of being trapped can lead to even more stress and potentially even more debt.
This is where understanding those psychological aspects comes in.
Okay.
The source argues that we need to address not just the debt itself, but also the underlying behaviors that contribute to it.
So where do we go from here? Well, the podcast episode lays out 7 actionable strategies for managing and reducing debt.
Okay.
And I have to say, they really did their research.
They did. And it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another. The key is to find strategies that resonate with your situation and your personality.
Exactly. So let's dive into those strategies and see how they can help you take control of your finances. First up is something that sounds simple, but it's crucial, knowing what you owe. They call it taking inventory of your debt.
It's about getting a clear picture of your financial landscape. List out all your debts, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, everything. Note the interest rates, minimum payments, and total amount owed. This clear picture becomes the foundation for building a solid debt management plan.
It's like you can't solve a problem if you don't know exactly what you're dealing with.
Right.
Now, once you have that list, they recommend tackling a high-interest debt first. This is what's known as the avalanche method.
This strategy is all about efficiency. By focusing on the debts with the highest interest rates, you're minimizing the amount of interest you'll pay over time. It's like stopping a leak before it floods your entire house.
That makes sense. But they also acknowledge that sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes we need a little emotional boost to keep us going, and that's where the snowball method comes in. This strategy focuses on paying off the smallest debts first, regardless of the interest rate.
Now, while this approach may not be the most mathematically optimal, it can provide a powerful psychological advantage. Those quick wins can create momentum and build your confidence, motivating you to stick with your debt repayment plan.
It's like that feeling of accomplishment you get when you check something off your to-do list. You're like, okay, I can do this. And that positive energy can really snowball into bigger wins down the line. But what if you're feeling stuck? They mentioned something about negotiating lower interest rates.
It's definitely worth a try. You might be surprised how often credit card companies are willing to work with you, especially if you have a good payment history. A simple phone call could potentially save you hundreds, even thousands of dollars over the life of your debt.
It's like they're saying, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of courage and a well-timed phone call.
Exactly. And speaking of proactive steps, they also talk about debt consolidation, combining multiple debts into a single loan, often with a lower interest rate.
I've heard of that, but I always thought it was just moving numbers around, not really solving the problem.
That's a common misconception. While debt consolidation can make managing your payments easier, it's crucial to address the underlying spending habits that got you into debt in the first place.
Okay.
If you don't, you risk falling back into old patterns and ending up with even more debt.
So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. It might cover up the problem temporarily, but you still need to set the bone right.
Precisely. The source emphasizes that real change requires a shift in mindset and behavior.
Okay.
And that brings us to their next strategy, budgeting.
Budgeting, the word that strikes fear into the hearts of many. But the way they explain it in the podcast actually makes it sound less intimidating. They even use a relatable example of that daily $5 latte.
That small indulgence can add up to over $1,800 per year. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about being mindful of where your money is going and making conscious choices.
So instead of just swiping your card without thinking, you actually take a moment to ask yourself, do I really need this? Or can I afford this?
Exactly. Budgeting is about taking control of your finances and making your money work for you, not against you. And the source suggests using budgeting apps or spreadsheets to track your income and expenses. They even recommend setting up automatic transfers to savings or debt repayment accounts.
Okay.
It's about automating good financial habits.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a personal finance assistant right in your pocket. And for those who are really determined to kick their debt to the curb, the podcast suggests exploring side hustles or finding ways to generate extra income.
They highlight the gig economy, online platforms, and even creative ways to monetize your hobbies. It's about leveraging your skills and resources to create a financial boost.
That's so empowering. It's like saying, I'm not just going to wait for things to get better. I'm going to take action and create my own opportunities. But what if you've tried all these strategies and you're still feeling overwhelmed? The source touches on the importance of seeking professional guidance.
They highlight the role of credit counseling agencies, which can help you negotiate with creditors and create a manageable repayment plan. He also mentioned debt settlement and bankruptcy as last resorts, but emphasized the importance of understanding the potential consequences.
So it's like having a financial coach in your corner, guiding you through the tough spots and making sure you're making informed decisions.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness.
Yeah.
The source even provides tips on how to find reputable and trustworthy financial advisors.
It's a reminder that you don't have to navigate this journey alone. There are people who are trained to help you succeed. But I'm curious about something. The episode focuses mainly on dealing with existing debt.
Right.
What about preventing future debt? That seems like a critical piece of the puzzle.
That's a great point. It's one thing to climb out of a debt hole, but it's even more important to learn how to avoid falling back in.
So what can we do to create a more resilient financial future?
The source doesn't go into too much detail on this, but I think we can glean some insights from their overall message. It starts with developing healthy financial habits, like budgeting, saving, and spending mindfully.
It's about shifting our mindset from instant gratification to long-term financial well-being.
Exactly. And it's also about understanding our own psychological triggers when it comes to spending. What are the emotional cues that lead us to overspend?
For some people, it might be stress. For others, it might be boredom or even social pressure. Once we identify those triggers, we can develop strategies to cope with them in healthier ways.
That's so insightful. It's about becoming more self-aware and taking control of our financial destinies.
This whole deep dive has been packed with information. We've learned about different types of debt, explored their impact, and discovered a range of strategies to manage and conquer them.
And the most important takeaway is that while debt can feel overwhelming, it is manageable. The key is to be proactive, informed, and willing to take action.
Absolutely. But remember, it's not just about eliminating debt. It's about creating a life where you feel empowered and in control of your financial future. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
But before we go, there's one final point from the source material I'd like to highlight. They briefly mention the concept of financial stress and its impact on mental and physical health.
That's right. They even cite studies showing links between financial stress and increased anxiety, sleep problems, and even chronic health issues. It's amazing how interconnected our finances are with our overall well-being.
It's a reminder that taking control of your finances isn't just about numbers, it's about investing in your health and happiness.
Totally. So if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by debt, don't hesitate to seek support. There are people who want to help you succeed.
Yeah, it really highlights the importance of addressing debt, not just for our wallets, but for our overall well-being.
It's almost like debt has this hidden cost that goes beyond the dollars and cents.
Exactly. It's an emotional burden that can manifest in very real physical ways.
Hmm.
Think about it. When you're constantly worried about money, it's hard to focus on other areas of your life.
You're saying it can impact your work, your relationships, even your ability to make clear decisions.
Precisely. The source mentions studies linking chronic financial stress to a weakened immune system.
Oh, wow.
You're more susceptible to getting sick. And it can disrupt sleep, leading to fatigue and difficulty concentrating.
It's incredible how intertwined our finances are with our health. It's a reminder that taking control of your debt isn't just about numbers, it's about investing in a healthier, happier you.
Absolutely. And even while working towards becoming debt-free, there are things we can do to manage that financial stress.
Like what? Any practical tips from the episode?
The first step is acknowledging the impact debt is having on you. Don't ignore it. Be honest with yourself about how it's making you feel.
That makes sense. Once you acknowledge it, you can start finding healthy ways to cope.
Right. The source suggests things like mindfulness practices, exercise, spending time in nature.
Okay.
These can help reduce stress. And don't underestimate the power of talking to someone you trust.
It's true. Sometimes just sharing your worries can make a huge difference. And if it feels overwhelming, seeking professional help from a therapist or a financial counselor can be incredibly beneficial.
They can provide guidance and support and help create personalized strategies for managing both your finances and your stress levels.
It's like having a support system to guide you through the process.
Exactly. Remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows you're committed to taking care of yourself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into personal debt, it's clear that it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding the psychological and emotional aspects and how those impact our overall well-being.
The journey to financial freedom starts with awareness and action. Analyze your situation, pick a strategy that resonates with you, and take that first step.
And if you get stuck, don't hesitate to seek guidance. There are people who want to help you succeed.
Remember, you're not alone in this second. Financial freedom isn't just about eliminating debt. It's about creating a life where you feel empowered, secure, and in control of your future.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into personal debt. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
If this podcast helped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep making these videos. Thanks for watching.